until we can get Tausch and me connected. So thanks for stepping into the breach, my friend.
Oh, anytime.
It is a continuation of the conversation I had with you at 7:15 about confidence and where you're, and frankly, I kind of struggled to answer those questions, right? Like, if you think back or if you listen on Wisconsin On Demand, I said the offensive line.
Yep.
As long as it stays healthy, because no offense to Royce Newman, but I don't want to see him out there. So if you have injuries on the interior, he and Sean Ryan, who played one special teams snap a year ago,
would they? If they had an injury on the interior, Jason, would they slide Zach Tom in and then put
Yash at right tackle? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Yash is still somewhat involved in the depth chart because it seemed like he was possibly being shopped as well after the roster came together.
He was definitely being shopped. They took a bunch of calls on tackles, and in the end, they kept them all. They kept Caleb Jones. They kept Luke Tenuta, who's now on injured reserve. They kept Yash. They obviously kept Rasheed Walker, who they moved ahead of Yash in the depth chart. So they got a lot of tackles. If there is an injury on the interior, I would think that they would move Zach Tom. But my point is, and I told Tausch this the other day, the 2014 Packers offensive line, they got through the season with one starter missing one game. That is not what happens on the offensive line in the NFL. That is rare. And so last year they started like 8 different lineups in the first 11 games or something to that effect. So that's one of the areas that I feel confidence, and yet, they're an injury or two away, and I know you could say that about any position, but they're an injury two away from me not having a whole lot of confidence at all. So this is what happens when you have a young team, and you look at what happened with the cuts to 53. None of the Packers players that they released were claimed by another team. There were a few that landed on other teams' practice squads, but none were outright claimed. And so that tells me that their roster is not as deep as it once was, when you would see 4 or 5 guys getting claimed that weren't good enough to make their team. So I think it will be a challenge for you to feel confidence in a bunch of different positions on this team until we get, 6, 8 games into the season and we see, hey, these young guys have really taken a big step forward. Tausch, I saw you at the Tundra Trio. I see your smiling face. Welcome aboard.
He's gone.
Oh, no, I lost him. Okay, my fault.
I'm still here, Jason.
You're always here for us. To the point that I made with you and Chewy this morning, though, I want to feel confidence in the defense if I'm a Packers fan, right? But who do you really feel good about? Who are you this guy is going to be great this season? I would say Jair Alexander. And I would say you want to be able to say Rashawn Gary, but after what we've seen David Bakhtiari go through with his knee, I think you have to have a tiny little bit of you that is I think he's okay. I think he's going to be back to being himself. He came back really fast from this ACL. Maybe he's one of the lucky ones. But even that, one of your best players, you have to have at least a little bit of nervousness about whether or not he's going to be good to go.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say about Rashawn Gary is I have confidence that he'll be himself by the end of the season. I feel pretty good about saying that out loud, just based on the reports that you and Domofsky and all those guys up there have had about how good he has looked since he's come back. And I know the Packers are putting him on pitch counts. I don't know if that was always a part of the plan or if now they're just being more cautious after, what happened last year with David, or, the last couple of years with David Bakhtiari, and how it took Elton Jenkins, even though he returned week 2, it took Elton about half the season to start looking like the Elton Jenkins that we have all come to know on the left side of that offensive line. So, I feel pretty confident by the end of the year Rashawn Gary's going to look like that. I feel confident Jair Alexander's going to have a good season as long as Joe Barry uses him correctly, but that's the problem, is you have to, anything with the defense has to come with the caveat as long as Joe Barry does his job.
And they have taken basically Joe Barry and said, all right, we're going to let you keep your job. But based on what we have heard from Matt LaFleur, from Rasul Douglas, from Jair Alexander, from Kenny Clark, they're not exactly running the same defense. I just feel like when you choose to keep Joe Barry, but then you tell him to run a different defense, that's not the greatest recipe for the kind of success that you're looking for. It may work. And if you have that much of an investment on the defense as the Packers do, and remember, Gabe, we all heard Goody say it after they drafted Lucas Van Ness. He put the defense on notice because of all the investments they've made on that side of the ball. The expectation is for them to be a dominant group. And maybe, despite keeping Joe Barry, they will be that because of the changes in their approach. Maybe that will be the case.
I guess part of my problem with the defense, Jason, is you always hear, whether you're taught what, no matter the conversation, it always comes down, they have 8 first-round picks, 8 first-round picks, 8 first-round picks, which, again, is factually true, but to me is a little disingenuous because when you take a look at those first-round picks, it includes somebody who is on PUP, and we don't know if he's going to be the same in Eric Stokes because it seems like a pretty bad knee/foot injury that he suffered as he continues to be on PUP. It includes Lucas Van Ness, who, again, according to the reporting that you've done and everybody else who's up there on a daily basis, Lucas Van Ness is going to be a project, which I don't have a problem with. It worked out with Rashawn Gary, but he's going to be a project. He needs to play more. He needs to develop more pass rush moves. He has a lot of raw tools, but it's going to take him some time to be able to use those tools that he has at an NFL level. And it includes Darnell Savage, who, yes, is a first-round pick, but not a first-round pick that I think the Packers actually want and are just stuck with because they decided to give him the fifth-year option and his $8 million salary is fully guaranteed.
Right. I mean, he was benched, and now the guy lining up next to him because you did not want to spend a couple of $1 million to keep Adrian Amos. And again, I don't think Adrian Amos is Troy Polamalu, okay? I don't think he's Brian Dawkins by any stretch, but he's a reliable guy who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Doesn't make a lot of plays, but doesn't miss tackles and doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And that's one of the levels of that defense that you have uncertainty with. They have 2 guys that were benched for each other late last season. And you brought in Jonathan Owens, you brought in Tavarius Moore, you drafted Anthony Johnson, and when you have all these guys get turns with the ones, what that tells me is that you don't have anybody that you think is a clear-cut starter, and Rudy Ford won the job, but Matt LaFleur made it clear as soon as he announced him as the starter that it's fluid, and it could change from week to week. So, again, I don't feel great about that spot. I would argue that while I think the world of Kenny Clark, just because their defensive linemen are younger and higher draft picks doesn't mean that they will be any better stopping the run than they were last year with Jaron Reed playing a bunch, with Dean Lowry playing a bunch. Yeah, you've changed guys. That doesn't mean you're going to change the results. TJ Slayton, maybe he is better. Devontae Wyatt, hey, maybe in year 2 he makes a big jump. But again, if I was a Packers fan, I would like to feel more confident in the defense than I do. And look, I'm confident, Gabe, in Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson arrows pointing way up and them having fantastic potential to be really good wide receivers in this league.
Yeah.
I just don't think they can do it on a consistent basis as second-year guys because even the really good ones as second-year guys, I don't know, Devontae Adams, who I know had an ankle issue in 2015, but
Romeo might have a hamstring issue.
To be consistent. Right. And both of those guys missed extended time with injuries last year. So, again, that's why they're doing what they're doing with this team. It is to get through all of this kind of stuff with the belief that in 2024 they'll have endured all these growing pains and rookie mistakes and be in position to be really good, where we're having the same conversation a year from now and talking about all the positions we're super confident in.
Which I'm fine with. I'm fine with this being a growing year. They made the decisions they had to, and I get it. And I'm excited about watching this offense. However, why does the general manager still insist upon standing at the podium and saying, well, the expectations don't change around here. We're not just trying to win games. Why does he do that when all of his actions scream otherwise?
I wish I had an answer for that. Now, I do think that he can't flat out say, hey, we don't care if we win or not.
Well,
and
sure,
I think what he has done
but why is rebuild such a
response.
Yeah? But why does he say? I mean, rebuild is just like a 4-letter word to him. I mean, everybody sees what's happening here. You're going young. You've decided that you don't want any veterans because you want everyone to kind of go through these growing pains together in 2023 in hopes of, having a base of 2024 the way that 2009 was that first year of the base for the Aaron Rodgers and that crew, which is fine. But I just don't understand why he insists on saying the expectations don't change around here, and then moments later his head coach is talking about how the process is more important than the results.
Right. Yeah, the messaging, Tausch always talks about this. We'll get connected with him coming up. But he always talks about how when you hear people all saying the same thing, that means your messaging is locked down and that everyone's on the same page. That doesn't sound like the same page to me, right? And if I'm Matt LaFleur, frankly, I don't want to be on that page. Because if they go 3-14, you know who's getting fired, right? It ain't Goody. He'll get another shot. But I don't think Matt LaFleur, first of all, I don't think they're going to go 3-14.
I would agree.
But if I'm Matt LaFleur, I'm looking at this inexperience and going,
you don't think
things don't go our way and things could get rough. And I don't want to be the guy who ends up out the door because I get scapegoated for it.
You don't think these two are joined at the hip because of the current structure? I feel if one's gone, the other's gone. I think Murphy would just clean house.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I think Goody's got way more capital that would prevent him from. I think he'd get another chance.
All right. That is good to know.
This is a hypothetical world. I do not think they're going. Let me be very clear.
Oh no, they're not going 3-14. I would agree.
But my point is when you're the head coach and you see guys get fired. I mean, I'm not saying that Matt LaFleur is Mike Budenholzer, but if guys that won NBA title can be fired 2 years later for an early playoff exit, no coach ever feels. That's why they're paranoid. That's why they don't want us taking video of 11 on 11. That's why, because coaches get fired all the time, and GMs get more opportunities. They get more coaches, and so I think Matt LaFleur, if you were having a Coors Light with him, would tell you, I'm really nervous about how young we are. I'm not going to say that at the podium, but since we're just having beers and Wilde's having a root beer, I'm nervous. I'm worried about how young we are because I've seen how young players make mistakes. And I really like our young quarterback, but he still has only started one NFL game. So I'm nervous. And my mountains are blue on my Coors Light, but I'm also more than a little red at Goody for not having at least a few veterans who could get us through some rough spots. So, again, I don't know how the season's going to play out. As I've told you many times, Gabe, I'm extremely fascinated and excited and intrigued by this season, unlike any other. But I fully expect growing pains, and if they somehow manage to outkick my expectations and go like 9-8 and sneak in as the 7th seed in the NFC, I will be thrilled to have been wrong. But I'm sticking by 6-11. And if they do better than that, good for them. But I just think when you have so many young players on your team, not just your starting quarterback who's inexperienced, but everyone around him basically that he's going to be throwing to, that's a challenging recipe. And that's why when you ask what I'm confident in, the list is short. We're going to work to get Tausch connected. We're going to get our video rolling. We're off to a little bit of a rocky start. It's amazing how Jesse sets us up for basically wishing he was here. Don't you love that? Like it's actually really savvy of him to do things that way. But we will get things set up. We will get things fixed and troubleshot. Since Tausch isn't yet here, or at least on the air, he will tell you about Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin a little bit later. I will tell you instead about Associated Bank. You know how much I love Ben Sorensen, my guy at Associated, and all the folks over there. Andy, the president, everyone has been so good to us. They've been such great partners for the show and such great partners for Paula and the girls and I. That's why we bank there, and we made the switch. We get the best customer service in the industry, and certainly not because I'm important. It's because they treat everybody that way. And if you're a Packers fan, there's no better time to make the switch than right now and get Packers checking. Get your Packers debit MasterCard. You get 10%. We've done that in the past.
Yeah, I'll be hanging out.
Next.
I'm flying standby.
You're the best. It's Wilde and Tausch and Gabe.
Wilde and Tausch is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Call Gina Della from Pella at 855-PELLA-WI or visit online at PellaWI.com/radio.
ESPN Wisconsin's Mark Tauscher here for my friends at Kohler Services. Have you been thinking of updating your bath or shower? Well, Kohler Services is a local end-to-end bath and shower design and remodel service brought to you by Kohler, a family-owned business in Wisconsin for 150 years. Kohler is the only manufacturer offering fast professional installation and care for life. Start enjoying your bath or shower right now with a special offer. Visit KohlerServicesWI.com to request your free quote and tell them that I sent you. Again, that's KohlerServicesWI.com.
Buckle up. It's all systems go at Potawatomi. Plug in to high wattage play and you could win an all-electric BMW i7. Play now through September with your club card. Prize drawings on Thursdays. There's a shocking $800,000 in total prizes on the line, including the luxury BMW i7. It's time to electrify your drive. Only at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. More info at paysbig.com/BMW. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
The wait is finally over.
Bucky by a billion. The Badgers are going to roll. The cheese is going to be flowing. Punch him right in the chin, man.
Wisconsin football kicks off against Buffalo
saying that I'd snore so loudly that the walls of our house would cave in with each breath.
Fast forward only recently, when Jessica's snoring forced her husband out of their bed and into another room. It's a pretty common situation. After Jessica had a thorough breathing triangle evaluation, we found that her snoring problem required a simple solution. In-office balloon sinuplasty. It's a 20-minute procedure, and it works. You won't find it offered by Big Box Healthcare, but you will find it at Advent, where we offer every effective snoring and sleep apnea solution available. You can hear more of Jessica's story at adventknowsjessica.com and take your first step towards breathing well so you can live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
Woo! I am thirsty today. Definitely gonna need a cold one. There's the one. Grabbing one of the go-to beers heading into this fall, and that's Potosi Brewing Company. My guy Wonder from Potosi is back again, and he's got the inside scoop on what sets Potosi apart from all the rest. And that includes giving back with a unique room for
all profits go to charity, so you're helping your community when you purchase Potosi. Also, what's nice about Potosi is it's also the home of the National Beer Museum. So located in a little small town, they were able to get the National Beer Museum.
Thanks again to Wonder for joining us and telling all about the wonderful offer. And remember, folks, no matter the season, you have to make sure the fridge is always stocked.
Student Athlete of the Week, supporting UW Credit Union is here for every you. Learn more at uwcu.org. Here's Ashton Rotman with a
This week's UW Credit Union Student Athlete of the Week is Greendale's Gabe Torres. The Panthers' senior wide receiver having an outstanding night in their 48-40 win over Alcorn in Week 2. In the game, Torres had 6 catches for a total of 148 yards, and to go along with it,
Opportunities to watch vintage race cars take on the iconic 4-mile
Your podcast with Wisconsin On Demand.
The postseason push is on! Be here as the Brewers battle the Phillies Friday, September 1st through Sunday, September 3rd. Show your school pride at College Theme Night on September 1st, presented by GE Healthcare. Plus, get set for September baseball with the Brewers Fleece Vest giveaway on Saturday the 2nd, presented by Hupie and Abraham. Get your seats today at brewers.com/promotions.
Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin plays at an MVP level. They came in ahead of time, make sure they had all of the measurements. When the Pella people left, you had no idea they had been here. You just had the new window. They're great professionals, Gina, and some of the best in the world at what they do.
Right now, pay as low as $19 a month per window or $75 per month on patio doors. Visit PellaWI.com today.
$6.99 APR for 120 months. Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offers end 9/30/2023.
Extra point with Ian Fitzsimmons.
Jonathan Taylor, Colts All-Pro running back, is starting the season on the PUP list. A lot of people are impacted. Not just Jonathan Taylor for not getting that long-term deal that he's looking for, but also Anthony Richardson. What's a quarterback's best friend besides his offensive line? A running game. And Anthony Richardson, as a rookie quarterback out of Florida who's only started in